Hey everyone! Today we're going to be doing 3.5 writing and graphing equations of lines. We're continuing what we started yesterday. Today we're going to be actually combining what we learned in 3.4 and 3.5. Let's go back to 3.4 for a moment. What do you know about the slopes of perpendicular lines? Hopefully you're saying they're the same. And what do we know about the slopes of perpendicular lines? We know that the slope of perpendicular lines are the opposite reciprocal of each other, or in other words, the product of their slopes has to equal -1. Okay, if you remember all that, let's get started with example 1. It says to write an equation of the line that passes through the given point P and is parallel to the line with the given equation. So there's a lot going on here, but it's really not as complicated as it looks. It starts off with saying, write an equation of the line. So I know that I'm going to have to start off with my slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. The two things I need are the slope and the y-intercept. Well, the equation of my line has to pass through this point here, -2, 0. And it says it has to be parallel to the line that's given. Y is equal to -1/2 x plus 6. Well, if the two lines have to be parallel to each other, what do I know about their slopes? They have to be equal. So if the slope of the line that's given is -1/2, right, that's the slope of that line, then I know the slope of my line has to also be -1/2. All I need now is the y-intercept. Well, given this point, I can do what we did before in 3.4, which is you plug -2 in for x, 0 in for y, and then solve for the y-intercept. So I know that my equation right now is y is equal to -1/2 x plus b. I'm going to plug in 0 in for y, -2 in for x. I know that -1/2 times -2 is equal to +1 plus b. B has to equal -1. So the equation of my line is y is equal to -1/2 x minus 1. Try B on your own. The equation of your line has to go through -5, -4. And remember, it has to be parallel to the equation y is equal to -2x minus 10. Press pause if needed. Okay, so hopefully you started off by writing y equals mx plus b. That's always a good habit to get into. I don't know what my slope is. I don't know what my y-intercept is quite yet. But since I know that the equation of my line has to be parallel to this line right here, I know the slopes have to be the same. The slope of this line is -2. So the slope of my line has to also be -2 because they're parallel. The y-intercept you're going to solve for by plugging in -5 in for x and -4 in for y, because that's a point that goes through my equation, through my line. So I'm going to start off by writing y is equal to -2x plus b, -4 in for y, -5 in for x, plus b. -4 is equal to +10 plus b. B has to equal -14. There's my y-intercept. I need everything, or I have everything that I needed. So y is equal to -2x minus 14 is the equation of the line. Let's move on to example 2. It's actually not that different from example 1. The only difference being that we're going to write an equation of the line that's perpendicular to the line that's given. So it's a lot like example 1, except we want to create an equation that's perpendicular to the line that's given. So we're going to start off again. We're writing an equation of the line. So y is equal to mx plus b. I need my slope. I need my y-intercept. The slope, well, I know that the slope of this line here is 1/2. So the slope of my line that's perpendicular to this line has to be the opposite reciprocal of 1/2. What's the opposite reciprocal of 1/2? Hopefully you said in your minds or out loud, -2. All I need now is my y-intercept. I solve for that by plugging in 5 in for x and then 20 in for y. So we're going to go y is equal to -2x plus b. Plugging in 20 in for y, -2 times 5 plus b. 20 is equal to -10 plus b. b has to equal positive 30. So the equation of my line is y is equal to -2x plus 30. Let's move on to example 3. Again, we're going to be writing an equation of the line. But this time they gave you a graph. It has to pass through point P. You can see point P right here. And it has to be parallel to the line that's given, line AB. So what do I do here? I'm going to start off by writing, again, y equals mx plus b, because that's my roadmap. I just need m, and I just need b, and then I'll have my equation. Well, if it's parallel to this given line, it has to have the same slope. So all you have to do is find the slope of this line, which has, let's see, a rise of 1, 2, 3, a rise of 3, and a run of -1. So the slope of my line is 3 over -1, or the slope of this line was 3 over -1, which was -3. And since my line has to be parallel to this line, the slope has to be the same. Okay, how about the y-intercept? Well, that's the thing. I don't know the y-intercept to my equation. I know the y-intercept of this line right here that's given, the purple line, but I don't care about that, really, right? I need the y-intercept of my line, which is not the same as this purple line here. But one thing I do know is a point that goes through this line, which is right here, P. I need the coordinates of this point, which happens to be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 2. So it's 3, 2. So to solve for the y-intercept, I have to plug in this point 3, 2 into my slope-intercept form. So y is equal to, we're going to write -3x plus b. I don't know what my y-intercept is yet, but I do know that it goes through the point 3, 2. So I plug in 2 in for y, 3 in for x. I get 2 is equal to -9 plus b. So b has to equal 11. There you go. We're done. Y is equal to -3x plus 11 is the equation of your line. It'll go through the y-axis at 11, and it'll be parallel to this line that's given here. How about this line here? Write an equation of the line that's parallel to line AB and goes through point P. So actually, I'm going to just draw it out right now because you can already tell it's going to be this line right here. Is this going to be an x equals 2 or a y equal to line? Hopefully you said y equals 2 because it's a horizontal line. Remember, it's a common mistake. A lot of people think it's x equals because it's horizontal and the x-axis is horizontal, but it's actually on the contrary to that thought, right? What's the y-coordinate of every single point that's on this line right here? Basically, where does it cross the y-axis? We know that it crosses the y-axis at -4, so there's your equation. That's it. Let's move to example 4. Again, we're going to write an equation of the line, and I'm going to actually prepare myself right now by writing slope-intercept form. But this time, it has to be perpendicular to line AB. So I'm thinking, or I'm hoping you're thinking, okay, I need to find the slope of this line. And once I find the slope of that line, I know that my line has to be the opposite reciprocal of that slope. So the slope of this line happens to be 2, 3 up, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So it's positive 3 over negative 4, or negative 3/4. So what's the opposite reciprocal of, oh, I'm sorry. Oh man, I shouldn't have written it there. It's going to confuse you guys. That's the slope of this line here. Positive 3, negative 4. But what's the slope of my line? It has to be the opposite reciprocal of that slope. It would be positive 4/3. Okay, what about the y-intercept? The y-intercept of my line's not given. But I do know, again, that it goes through this point P. So I need the coordinates of that point, which happens to be -1, -2. And I think you're probably getting the hang of it. You're going to have to plug this in to the equation to solve for b. So I'm going to set up my equation. Y is equal to 4/3 x plus b. My y is -2. My x was -1. And then add b. Let me actually erase this for now just because it's in my way. Okay, I'm going to continue here. -2 is equal to -4/3 plus b. I know that -4/3 is -1 1/3 plus b. If I add 1/3 on both sides, my b has to equal what, guys? Hopefully you said -2/3. So the equation of my line, given that the y-intercept now is -2/3, is going to be y is equal to 4/3 x minus 2/3. You can try one on your own. Press pause. Again, the equation of my line has to be perpendicular to the line that's given. So I need the slope of this line first, which happens to be rise of 1, and then a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, -6. Slope is 1 over -6. So the slope of my line has to be the opposite reciprocal of that slope, which happens to be +6. How about the y-intercept of my line? Well, given this point P, which is at -2, 0, I can solve for my y-intercept now. So y is equal to +6x plus b, plugging in 0 in for y, -2 in for x. We can see that b has to equal +12. So the equation of your line is 6x plus 12. Your homework for tonight is seen right up there. Your Chapter 3 test will also be this Friday. See you guys tomorrow.